This is He Who Moans, Doctor Who reviews. I only complain because I like Doctor Who and I care. And I overanalyze too much because, whatever, it's just my opinion. Well, this is weird. Oh god, how do I say this? I liked a Stephen Moffat script. A 2015 Stephen Moffat script. Oh my god, I'm melting! I'm melting! Okay, I wouldn't call it great, but his earlier work is at the very least patting it on the head with a barge pole now. It's not rolling on the floor pissing itself laughing at it, while the barge pole that it won't touch it with is locked in a shed about 12 miles away. Actually, thinking about it, that's kind of unfair of me. I'm really shocked here. I do like Which Is Familiar a fuck ton more than most of what he's done lately, and if we start moving the series in the direction that we go in here, I for one will be quite pleased. I think it's at the very least one full step in the right direction this time. Oh, there is still quite a lot of things wrong with it though, and I still think we had our priorities a little bit mixed with regard to how he's treated the order of the mood of this story. Essentially what he's done here is he's tried to write a two-parter in reverse. Part 1 was all spectacle and really high-octane fast pace, while Part 2 primarily does character drama. And no, I don't mind him trying to tell his stories in unusual ways. Hell, given just how many been there seen that ideas this story played with, he needed to at least do something to break the mountain of convention on display here. But the thing is, in Part 1, I was just kinda bombarded with epic for the entire thing, but because I'd been given pretty much no reason to really care yet, it just ended up feeling kinda hollow and empty to me, and I really don't think I was wrong to have the very numb reaction to it that I had. There wasn't really any easing us back into it. Magician's Apprentice just sort of grabbed me by the collar and screamed, "Give a shit about me, damn it!" I mean, maybe this is just me being a boring, miserable fart here, but if you just pound me with epic so much and give me no time to get comfortable, it can just kinda fatigue me before the actual story's even started. If you'd given me that spark of humanity first, I might have bought into it. But hell, it was an experiment, it didn't work. For me at least, seemed to for others. But even though my alternate title for this story would be even more of the fucking same, Which Is Familiar actually did manage to make me feel something, and given how long it's been that something with Moffat's name attached to it managed that, yeah, it is possibly surprise that caused this reaction from me more than the episode's inherent merits, but I just know that I had fun with it, so in the end, who gives a fuck? Since we're playing Structure a Two-Parter as a mirror image of each other, this time round I'm going to start with some light negatives. First, the obvious one. Did anyone actually believe, even for a millisecond, that he would shoot young Davros? Did anyone out there think there was even the slightest possibility that he wouldn't shoot the handmines? If you did, please enjoy approximately 6 seconds worth of slow clapping. And while I'm here, yeah, I was still left wanting so much more from this scenario with young Davros than we got. If I could be asked, I would write a fanfiction about it. Secondly, Sonic sunglasses. Really, we're really doing this. Well, since we all keep complaining that he's not bringing anything new to the table, let's just come up with a new random object to replace the old overused one that pretty much does the same thing. This is a new idea. Thirdly, the way that Missy and Clara got out of their supposed death from last time was really fucking obvious and the first thing everyone thought it would be. Again. And yet we drag out their reveal like it's supposed to be unexpected. Yes, alright, how else would I want them to get out of it, but yet again, last week's cliffhanger, there was almost negligible tension there. Hence I didn't even mention the death last time. Okay, and now to some positive. What I love is just how understated most of the runtime is. It made the ending where it becomes overstated again a shit ton more effective. There was a dramatic incline to our grand finale. While actually having a dramatic incline shouldn't be remarkable, it's kinda like in Deep Breath where we all had to start praising Clara being turned into an actual character for a change, when surely character and a well-paced story should kinda be prerequisites, shouldn't they? And yet when we look at some of the stuff that Moffat's done over the last couple of years, it suddenly becomes remarkable when he actually remembers to do it. God, if I'm praising him for this, I swear that by the end of season 10 I'll be praising him for remembering how to tie his shoelaces. But still, it did have decent pacing for a change. We slowed up for a bit. There wasn't a whole lot of excess. We actually spent some time with our characters, interacting with each other like human beings. Well, sorta, but you know what I mean, right? And it just got me going, you see, Moffat? You see? It works, don't it? Essentially all this one is two characters learning how to work together while two other characters open up to each other emotionally. I really like that. That's the Stephen Moffat I love, who could make something low-key feel high-key. Just a small handful of characters, talking lots. I was engaged in Missy and Clara's attempt to break into the Dalek city. I was genuinely feeling something for the Doctor and Davros. Old men now, one on the brink of death, reflecting on his life, and just wanting some kind of reassurance that it was good that he did what he thought was right. It's just a shame these scenes are kind of undercut by revealing it was them both attempting to play each other.
It's a trap!
God, Moffat, why do you have to go and totally undercut the best thing you've written in years? I'm sorry, Stuart. Look, a special weapons Dalek! Oh my god, where? But yeah, Julian Bleach sold the hell out of it in this one. He gives a brilliant performance, and given just how popular these scenes of character drama between Davros and the Doctor have been, that just begs the obvious question of, why the fuck has Moffat not been trying this sort of thing the whole time? I mean, he can still do it. This proves that he can. And while they were enjoyable, when watching these scenes, did anyone else just sort of see all of the stupid gimmicky nonsense of the last few years just sort of flashing before their eyes? The pretentious drawn-out scenes that go on for ages while saying nothing. Characters with weird disjointed motivations, repetitive tropes, pointless cliffhangers, the entirety of the shitty Narnia Christmas special. And just started going, why has this not been what you've been doing for the last 3 years if you can still be good at it? Anyway, onto Clara. Late last year I was starting to worry that we'd found her only to lose her again immediately. It was like she'd been fighting with this brain slug of mediocrity that had been possessing her for a few years that she managed to fight off in Mummy on the Orient Express, but then it just sort of crawled back inside her ear when Moffat took over the script again in the finale. But I did enjoy Jenna Coleman in this one. Not Clara, Jenna Coleman, there is a difference. Last week the script didn't exactly give her, well, anything to do, but here it gives her, well, not much, but something, and Jenna is noticeably really trying here, and I do feel she deserves commending for that. I just really wish the narrative would make up its mind whether Clara's supposed to be stupid or clever, because after the way she handled herself in Flatline, there's a fair few moments in this one where it feels like she's just gone way too stupid. Seriously, she's pretty much the Master's puppy in this one. What the fuck happened to the proactive Clara that we started to see at the end of last year? But regardless of my highly relevant complaints on what Clara's given to do in this one, as said, I did enjoy the noticeable effort on Jenna's part. I know that I do complain about Clara lots, for good reason, but I am still rooting for Jenna to get decent work off the back of Doctor Who, and it was primarily because of her that I was actually invested in that scene where Missy's got Clara into a Dalek, where she can't say anything positive or her name, and Missy tries to convince the Doctor that that Dalek killed Clara, and she tries to get him to shoot her. There I actually was going, just for a second before thinking, duh, obviously, I was thinking, he's not actually gonna do it, is he? And secretly hoping that he was. That was probably the first moment that Missy actually felt like the Master to me. She's lulled everyone into a false sense of security to get the Doctor to shoot his companion. While it was really, really fucking astronomically contrived in the way it was put together, I did enjoy this bit. When I say astronomically contrived, what I mean by this is, one, as said, Clara basically being turned into what the episode required her to be, and two, yeah, it's controversy time again. Fucking Christ, these things are difficult. Seriously, Moffat, can you just leave the controversies alone for a few minutes? It's so much easier to talk about if I'm just given shitty innuendos to poke fun of. Now, in this one, Clara's being stuck inside a Dalek travel machine, having her voice and emotions converted into Dalek speak. When she says, "I love you," it comes out as "exterminate." When she says her own name, it comes out as, I am a Dalek. This aspect of the episode has been controversial in some fan circles because it's been alleged that what it's basically saying here is that the tank is in some way doing some of the hating for the Dalek mutant. Because it is wholly possible, based on this scenario, what if there are innocent Dalek mutants sat inside these travel machines, having their intentions warped by a machine that only allows them to express hatred? This sort of implication that Dalek mutants might not be wholly responsible for their actions in this equation changes quite a lot of shit that we know about the Daleks and kinda butts heads with quite a lot of stuff in canon, like their entire reason for being, for instance. As said though, it's not out and out saying that the travel machine is doing the hating for the mutant. What I personally saw in my viewing of these scenes was Moffat trying to candidly come up with something that 1. Suits his plot, 2. Is a new Who evocation of a classic Who serial, number 9896, and 3. He thinks to himself, hang on, Daleks can't change, but why can't they change? What's stopping them from changing? Can I be the one to do that? And so here, he's got an idea that suits his plot, and given his love of screwing around with canon, he goes for it and comes up with something that sort of explains why the Daleks can't change, which, however accidentally, implies all manner of inane things. While I see why this has pissed some people off, for one thing, it didn't actually set anything in stone. It was just a narrative device that can be freely interpreted, and 2, I tend to be more lenient when it comes to messing about with canon than most fans. My attitude on this front basically is, we'd never have had progress in this show at all if people had never been allowed to mess about with established continuity just to see if it works. It all depends on the specific thing that they're doing, and it depends whether I think the result works that will dictate whether I start bitching about it. As said, I don't think Moffat intended for this idea to butt heads with quite so much of what we know about the Daleks, and as said, nothing's overt, and besides, anything can have extra context added to it later. You only have to look at the old show's history with Atlantis to get a sense of that much. Yeah, I really should do a video on how I approach canon, because not many people seem to take the same approach that I do. I have a tendency to just sick things like this up later and move on if I decide I don't like it, and just take whatever's put in front of me for the duration. I cannot underline those last 3 words enough. And as far as narrative devices go, I enjoyed it as it played out. It could have been a lot more grating than it actually was. That being said though, yes, it really did bother me that the Doctor is shocked that mercy is even in the Daleks' vocabulary when... was I the only one who thought... Kinda similar concepts, ain't they? The very least one requires the other. Oh yeah, also... I'm not doing a very good job of justifying the I liked it that I started this video with, am I? Just so much about this scenario just doesn't work when you stop to think about it. Anyway, back to Missy. I'm still banking on her turning out to be River, somehow. There's still relatively little difference between the two characters, except for the bit where she lies about Clara. The sheer amount of one-liners she has in this. Normally I would start bitching about the continuation of the usage of the Stephen Moffat easy reference chart for writing female characters, and Christ how it pains me to see him use some of said tropes on the Master. For good reason, obviously, and yes, it's still relevant, but I can't be the only one who kinda just sort of let it go for at least about 20 minutes here. While last week I was getting a bit frustrated with Missy not feeling threatening, here I appreciated that I was actually given some time to just have Gomez and Coleman playing off each other because the episode didn't think it had to distract me with guitars and planes and snakemen and things. And it just let me enjoy their journey from the wasteland to break into the Dalek city. Anyway, I haven't been talking that much about Capaldi, have I? Yeah, I noticed that too. He seems to have vanished from almost every conversation I've had about New Who since my Deep Breath review. Same with lots of people really. The scripts seem to have taken precedence when it comes to talking points in fan circles. Lots of people were complaining last series that while they liked Capaldi, they didn't really feel like they knew who his Doctor was yet, and I do see why, and I agree with a fair few of their complaints. Everyone just sort of got caught up in the initial buzz of, oh my god, Malcolm Tucker is the Doctor, and we had people calling him possibly one of the best Doctors ever, based on hearing approximately 2 lines from him at the end of Time of the Doctor, And with the incredibly tedious 9-month-long hype around him, by the time we reached about halfway through season 8, yeah, let's just admit it guys, the hype had kind of outgrown what they were actually doing with 12. But in Which Is Familiar, we appear to be moving away from last year's marketing of the Doctor as, you know, he's dark, he does monologues all the time, and this series is going to be very serious and grown up. To me, last year's attempts to forge this Doctor's identity just felt like they were done in a really heavy-handed way. In this one though, I actually started to feel like I knew who this Doctor was. He's gruff and serious in a Hartnell kind of way, and he has a very negative outlook. He does have noble intentions, yes, but importantly, he doesn't seem to be as sure of himself as most Doctors. And I like that. That's precisely what I've been wanting, because I don't know about anyone else, but I never wanted the Doctor to be seen as this magic super being who has the power to sweep in and wave his magic wand and save anyone he wants to, because where's the fun in that? And that was a problem that I regularly had with both Tennant and Smith. The narrative had a tendency to lick their shoes a bit too much, and Ten's occasional emotional outbursts kind of felt a bit token and grated on me a fair bit. In this one though, with 12, while the narrative did lick his shoes quite a fucking bit, as it always does, particularly the ending, but it didn't lick his shoes in totality. While it was just as cack-handed as Moffat usually is these days, the way that Capaldi played it in his scenes with Davros and the Clara in the Dalek one showed a lot of promise to me. Yes, the Doctor should be confident, but he should show some kind of fragility and hesitation. So it actually does get you to wonder whether he is going to get everyone out of this situation alive. And I found that encouraging. The 12 that we saw in this one did really give me some hope for the rest of the series. Overall, I enjoyed Which Is Familiar for what it was. It's not perfect by any stretch, but while wildly flawed, I've been wanting Moffat to take a stab at something like this for a while, so I do appreciate the effort. Anyway, now it's time for Prediction Corner, the section of the show where I waste everyone's time by positing rubbish theories about what I think might happen by the end of the series. Okay, this time, right, so remember how Clara was basically a plot device in season 7, right? Well, remember River Song, the other lady who was a plot device? Well, the Doctor's companion turned out to be her mother, right? Well, what if, right? What if Clara turns out to be the Doctor's mother?
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Fear is a superpower.
The saddest thing is, I wouldn't put that one past him.